We're going to talk about 5, and we're going to talk about Boreas. And I was given the title to follow the water. And considering that I'm the one giving the talk, it's actually going to be follow the soil water, because that's what I make measurements of, mostly. I'm also going to talk about Boreas, although I've reviewed a lot of the 5 stuff. I was not really involved with that project. I'm going to first we'll look at some transition slides where we're looking at a transect through the boreal forest. So this is the setup, and we started in the first years of Boreas using the neutron probe, which is in the upper left corner there. The neutron probe is kind of gold standard for measurements due to the sample volume. It's a technology that was by that time 30 years old. And you make the measurements by moving the sensor, which has the americium beryllium radioactive source, down different levels on the profile. We had a very tight protocol on Boreas. We made measurements every 10 centimeters, and you can see that we've got measurements that are made down to 1.5 meters, so that's a nice deep measurement that's hard to do with the dielectric probes that we use today. So this is the transect through the forest. We've got 5 access tubes, these aluminum access tubes. We're going to plop the probe on top of it. And this is it's good news, bad news on this measurement. You put the probe at the right depth layer, you push a button, it goes beep, you wait 32 seconds, it goes beep, beep, you write down a 5-digit number. Move to the next layer, you push a button, it goes beep, 32 seconds later, it goes beep, beep, you write down a 32-digit number. The good news is you're in the forest, you're by yourself. This site took me about 3 hours, normal measurements. And you get to observe things. You get to observe eddies going through the forest, especially when there's lots of pollen. You see it just blowing off the trees, so you know when things are coming through. You can hear the eddies coming through. The bad news is you only get to think about things 32 seconds at a time. I one time tried to figure out how many times I had done this, and I quit counting at 10,000 because I was getting depressed. So, all right. This is the profile. At the initial measurement, you'll notice this is day year 150. And I'll be out at this site making measurements every 2 days. And so we're going to look at gradual drainage of the profile. We're going to look at root water uptake in the top over this 16-day period. And then there's going to be a rainfall event at the end. You can see the scale for soil moisture on the bottom there. This is 18 meters across and 1.5 meters deep. So let's see if this will fire. Yeah, there we go. We got drainage, gradual drainage, root water uptake at the top, more root water uptake, more drainage, and rain. All right, you can see the rain coming right through. Well, it was raining like crazy when I was driving out to the site. That's why I could capture this. This is coarse sand at the old jack pine in the north, and so it drains relatively rapidly. There was mention today about dielectric probes, and so in the second phase, the 96 data of Boreas, we started installing dielectric probes. And so these were some of the earlier dielectric probes. Actually, we did some of the real early stuff, and we had we had more noise than we had data. We needed to do a lot of filtering, but by now the technology was improving, and so you can see we've got the 4 depth layers monitored there, and we see rainfall effects. This is in rainfall effects towards the surface, but not at depth. This is in the old jack pine canopy. And then we come to the young jack pine canopy. We see the rainfall effects both at the surface and deeper in the transect. This is it's 40 days of either 15-minute or hourly data. I think these were hourly data that I plotted up for this. I'll show you some newer data towards the end of this. Summer operations, we talked about bugs. We wore bug jackets all the time. On the left-hand side is what we called the Hide 1 bear box. We set up an early TDR system there, dielectric system, and the next day we went out there and the battery was just flicked to one side and some other stuff was flicked to the other side, and a bear had been out there and didn't like that we were in his or her territory. And so we went to Canadian Tire, our favorite place in Thompson, and we built the Hide 1 bear box, which lasted the rest of the experiment. On the right-hand side is an infiltration test in the old black spruce, it looks like. Okay, infiltration tests. We ran over 300 infiltration tests in Boreas. I don't think we've done any more than that on any experiment. We used a tension infiltrometer device. This was a device that we originally used in Hapex Sahel. So I was involved with these experiments since Hapex Mobilee in '86, which was up on one of Pierce's slides. And we did the tension infiltrometer first came into play in Hapex Sahel, '92. And so this is, we're going to be having water transit past a membrane that's under tension, so it's not saturated. It's less than saturated. And so this slide shows a sandy site. These were nicer sites to work at, really. And then this is a loam site. So this is a old aspen site. And in Hapex Sahel, we had to manually write down the measurements of the water level in the tube, and which you have to do different time scales because it starts to infiltrate quickly and then it slows down. We used to call these, some of you came out and saw this, but when the water would pass through the membrane, a bubble would come up the tube, and we used to call that the heartbeat of the Bordeaux forest. But by this time at Oregon State University, we had used pressure transducers and hooked everything into a micrologger, and so everything was recorded automatically. Still, it would take about 3 hours to run a test. Sometimes in the sandier sites, we could get done in an hour and a half or so because it would stabilize quicker. This is Dave Stengel. Some of you may remember Dave. He worked on all of the southern sites. So Dave worked on all the southern sites. I worked on all the northern sites. And in the infiltration data, when it first starts out, we have sorptivity effects, which are a function of the initial soil moisture content. And then after the signal starts to stabilize, we get conductivity effects, which is just related to the conductivity of the soil itself and not affected by initial soil water content. And what happened? Yeah, for some reason, the data was here and it went away. So, so this is a magic computer. I see. It's a damn Apple, isn't it? Okay. That's why I never use Apples. What this showed was that we ran at multiple tensions. Okay. No, that's not it's still missing. So we ran at multiple tensions. I think this was 3, 13, and 6 centimeter tensions. And using Gardner's equation, we could go back to 0 tension, which would be under saturated conditions, and get saturated hydraulic conductivity. Because we ran about 30 infiltration tests at each site, then we could construct for that particular soil, and it was brought up this morning that the different tree canopies separate out by soil. Jack pines are always in well-drained sandy soils, black spruce are always in poorly drained clay soils, and old aspens are in silty loam soils. And so what we could do is construct a soil-wide or regional hydraulic conductivity code and regress on what is the saturated hydraulic conductivity that is representative of that soil type, and that could be used as a modeling parameter. Okay, we also ran winter operations in Boreas. I had worked in Apex Sahel, and the hottest day was 125 degrees, and in Boreas, the coldest day we worked was 35 below. So I had a temperature sensor from REI on my jacket, and I pinned both sides of it between the two, both ends of it between the two experiments. The nice thing about doing the winter operations to keep the dielectric sensors running was that we got to ski into these sites in April, and we had a whole winter of snow. No one had been in there, and it was pristine and beautiful and really nice. The bad news was when you went in the first day, you couldn't really stand up, and so you'd ski along for a while, and then the tips of your skis would go down, and you'd go down, and the other guy would take a picture and start laughing, and he'd pass you, and then we'd switch places because the same thing would happen to you. So we'd ski in one day, and then go in with a sled load the second day. And so this is in the Young Jack Pine site, and this is in the northern Young Jack Pine. Beautiful trail through the trees. We'd already skied in with sleds and whatnot, and batteries and whatever we needed to keep things going. The thing was that you kept asking yourself the whole time you're going in, why am I getting paid to do this? This is great stuff. This is so much fun. Okay, this has led to the Boreas to the Air Moss project. And I've highlighted the names of some people who were in the audience. Mata Mogadam is the lead PI on this project. Myself, Sasan Sachi is going to be talking, I think, later today. He's on this project. Steve Wofsy, we just heard from. And so this is the airborne microwave observation system. And the objective of this project, we've seen this slide before, but the objective is to look at the scale between the flux tower scale and the continental scale. And so we're going to do that by looking at things on the scale of 100 kilometers by about 25 kilometers. And we're going to fly this with the P-band radar. The P-band is longer wavelength than the microwave, or it's in the microwave, but it's longer wavelength than what's normally, than what's up now in the satellite. And it has greater penetration depth. And so we have 7 sites, 9 sites in North America, 7 by my group. Duke Forest, Harvard Forest, Metolius Forest in Oregon, and Tonzi Ranch in California. 1 site in Mexico, and then we needed 2 sites in Canada. We were able to get 2 in the same flight line if we used 2 of the old Boreas sites. And so we used Old Jack Pine and Old Aspen in the south. This is the P-band radar on the NASA Gulfstream 3. This is the jet the astronauts used to like to coming back from Russia. This is the P-band radar within its pod. And this is the crew doing a little pre-flight checking on the systems. This is a very experimental system, but we've just finished up this project with some very nice results. And this is Mata and the crew getting ready for a flight over the Oregon sites and then the Canadian sites on this 1-week period we were with them. This is business class inside, keep everything running, check that we're within the flight tube, very precise flight tube needed to be flown on this, and we had to make sure all the radar configurations were good. We had to train a new crew of grad students. Yutaka Hajimoto's on the left, and he's done a lot of stuff with throughout the Air Moss project. Teresa Ring had worked on this, and then Laura Fusini was a French intern for the summer. And I said, you're going to need a bug jacket. And she said, what is a bug jacket? And we all said, you'll see. And here she is in her bug jacket at the setup in the old Aspen in the south. All right, I think I'm out of time, and so I just want to congratulate Piers and Forrest on the great job that they've done in getting us down this road that all of us have participated on in so many years. And obviously, as somebody said earlier, obviously we love doing this stuff. We would have stopped doing it a long time ago. So thanks very much.